Hey guys, what's up and welcome to a new Tesla update video. So today, as per usual, let's go over Tesla, let's go over the market and figure out, well, what happened today and a pretty wild day for the market and a pretty damn wild weekend as well. And yeah, as usual, if you enjoyed, don't forget to hit that like button. This is not financial advice. I am not a financial advisor. And of course, my membership section is live. That link down below in the description of the video. For just $3 a month, you get access to all my posts, updates, technical analysis, options flow on Tesla, sometimes other stocks as well, every single day. So definitely check it out if you're interested. That link is down below in the description, at the top of the description of this video. So we'd love to have you there. But jumping into it, Tesla closing the day up actually ever so slightly. Well, not ever so slightly. I mean, a decent 1.8% we'll say on the day, which compared to the market is, decent outperformance, we'll say. Now, unfortunately, the candle on the daily chart, well, it's not the prettiest looking candle, right? It is essentially an inverted hammer candle. There's another name for it. I just call it inverted hammer candle. But essentially, well, it's pretty obvious what this candle shows. It shows that, the sellers definitely overwhelmed the buyers throughout the trading day, right? Now, of course, let's first understand what even happened here, right? Obviously, if somehow you live under a rock over the weekend, well, there was quite a turn of events surrounding President Trump. Let's just say that. I don't know if I'm allowed to say the words that actually happened, just in case this video gets demonetized or something like that, but I'm sure we're all aware as to what happened in relation to, Mr. Trump or President Trump, ex-President Trump, whatever. Pretty wild stuff. I feel like this could have went a pretty different direction, to say the least. Let's just say that. And the market definitely, and including Tesla, could have definitely, things could have been a lot different today. Let's just say that. Also, Elon over the weekend pretty much endorsed Trump, right? So that's, another reason, right? And, obviously, the market clearly finds that to a certain extent bullish, right? The market, of course, rewarding Tesla ever so slightly today with a nice 1.8% rally. Now, the issue I have is this. This is my problem right now with Tesla, right? We were all the way up here. We lost 7% on the news that the robotaxi event will be delayed by a couple months. That's weird. I mean, definitely an overreaction. I mean, it probably shows how just overextended we are, but still kind of an overreaction. And then we get news that Elon is endorsing Trump, and we just rally at the highest point, 7%. It's just, we're trading on way too much, I don't know, euphoria, if that makes sense. Just too much, it really feels like a meme stock at the very moment, right? That's kind of where I'm just a little bit, uncomfortable, I guess, to say the least, right? So that's why I'm entering positions very lightly. I'm kind of swing trading it very lightly right now, but I'm just kind of waiting for the price to consolidate and to tell me where it goes, because we did come up pretty much to the same level that rejected us not too long ago, really, right? Just pretty much last week, right? As we came up to this pretty much 265 to us, pretty much 270 level, rejected here, rejected here, rejected here, came up again today, rejected it pretty substantially as well, printed a pretty much inverted hammer candle, right? In a lot of, you can see massive volume over here, a gap rather, right? We're kind of ping-ponging between these two volume profiles right here, pretty much every single time we get to one of the other zones, right? So that's kind of the thing here, right? So the fact that we're getting rejected by this tells me one thing. So there's two ways to look at this scenario, right? First and foremost, on the daily, we're essentially printing, or we were printing a bearish divergence where, even when the price was all the way up here, the RSI was actually pretty much exactly where it is right now. So essentially, as we were making pretty much equal highs, the RSI was, making a bearish divergence. In other words, lower highs, right? That's obviously a bearish divergence. Now, what does that actually mean? Well, it means similar to how when you're really overbought on the RSI, warning shots. Essentially, it's just a warning signal. It doesn't mean that it has to, play out tomorrow. It doesn't even have to play out next week necessarily. But it does mean that, we're slowly starting to set up some bearish momentum. It could still take some time to develop, but it doesn't have to also execute. But it's just warning signs. It's warning signs, warning signs, warning signs. It doesn't mean it has to happen, but it's just things that you look at when you really overbought like this on the RSI, historically overbought, when you have bearish divergences on the daily like this. You have the stochastic essentially bearish right now with the green below the red, right? Momentum is being a little bit lost. The MACD is starting to make lower highs right here. You can see the momentum is definitely starting to slow down, especially after we gapped up on such an event, up 7%, and we pretty much lost a decent portion of it, right? So, this is why in the morning to my members, I told them, this is the day to be careful. This is the day you just observe. I did a quick swing trade this morning, like $6 swing trade in terms of 254 to 260. And I pretty much just sat out the rest of the day for the most part. Did some buying and did some nibbling on testing some other stocks towards the end of the day here, just before I started recording. But the way I look at it is, at the very least, I personally expect a gap fill tomorrow. About this 248-ish level, I expect this gap fill. But personally, the way I'm playing it out is this, right? I need to see how the structure up here develops, because there's two things I see that can also develop from here. If we go to the 1 hour chart, it makes a little bit more sense, right? We could potentially just be setting up, well, a double top, right? So for instance, if we went from this general area, we consolidated, we had this massive rally, came back down, came back up again, pretty much at the exact same level, and this could be potentially a double top, which if it is, and pretty much the way you really confirm this double top is if we ever lose 232. If we lose 232, and especially if we start closing daily candles below 232-ish, that's pretty bad. I'm not gonna lie, that's pretty bearish. That's gonna be pretty bearish. That means we're probably heading decently lower, right? Not necessarily right away lower, but probably gonna be zigzagging ultimately lower. And this double top pattern will most likely play out. And I think this will probably take us well back into the low 200s, if not maybe even about 190. Honestly, that is not that is not impossible. And I'll explain why that might be the case even further. But that's like me with my bullish thesis, my bullish eyes, if you will, right? Or sorry, bearish eyes. My bullish eyes, on the other hand, however, see something else entirely, right? There are a few things that are still bullish here, in my opinion, right? Obviously, the stock is still in a this little uptrend, massive rally. It still has momentum, of course. It's just I think it's definitely slowing down. But one thing you can argue is the fact that, well, what if we are just essentially setting up a potential horizontal consolidation like this, right? And we're just going to be ping-ponging like this, maybe even getting tighter. So instead of just actually these levels, what if we just went like this? Now we set a lower high, but then we set a higher low. Then we set a lower high, then we set a higher low. And then ultimately we kind of consolidate like this into what could be a bull flag. And then we move up even higher. That's a possibility. That is a very real possibility. This is why I need to see personally this structure develop. I need to see, do we lose 230s? Do we set a higher low or above 232? Do we break 232? I need to see how this develops, right? Because these are the two main pathways I see moving forward for Tesla roughly, right? Either it's the bullish path, like I just said, where we essentially consolidate sideways. We ended up, we maybe get tighter and tighter and tighter, or at the very least, just within this kind of 270 to 230 range, which is still technically a bull flag. Or we ultimately lose 232, roughly 230, 232. And well, the bearish pattern plays out with a double top. Those are two big ifs right now, right? And obviously, I don't have a crystal ball. I can't tell you for sure which one will play out, but I expect it to be one of those two situations. It's just a matter of which one. Patience, unfortunately, is required to determine which one might actually be, the one that plays out, right? So that's why I'm saying it's really, really important. Now, again, there are some bullish things here, though, right? Call flow for Tesla today, right? Obviously, it's nowhere to be found, even in the call flow here. It's all the way down here at 2.6 million. So a lot of calls may be closed out, but there was some dark pool, for instance, right here. You can see towards the higher end of the day, even today at 252, you can see a dark pool 70 million, 53 million, 55 million back when we were at 258, right? So clearly some dark pool. 52 million up here when we were at 260. So clearly some dark pool money coming in here. Potentially acting as a resistance in the 260s-ish range, which is pretty much where we got rejected at, right? That's a little bit concerning, but there was some decent call flow today, actually, and the call flow was pretty bullish, right? You can see all the way down here, if I go in, I think it was, if I'm not mistaken, yeah, so 1.35 million here, 330 strike for 2026, for instance, right? There was another one I want to see. Can I sort this by value? I'm trying to sort this by value. I can't sort it by value. Let me see if I can find it. I showed it to my members. I'm going to go to my members. I did share that with them down here somewhere. Here we go, right? I'll just open the screenshot. So you can see a lot of call flow came in here pretty much around just past noon, right? A lot of call flow, but the main ones that really stood out is the fact that there was a 1.53 million call 260 strike for this week, expiring this week, and a 1.35 million call also expiring this week. Oh, sorry, that's the 2026 one. There was another one that I think I saw. This one up here, 2.73 million call coming in also this week, 260 strike. That's a substantial amount. And the best part is it came in at $261 when Tesla was at $261. We're pretty much $10 below that. So either this whale just took a fat L, or they know something and they're just not getting shooken out. And well, they expect Tesla to rally significantly sometime this week. Maybe some pending news is coming out. I don't know. But again, either this whale is taking a very fat L, or they know something that, clearly we don't. I don't know which one it is, but, when I see these kind of things, it makes me wonder, well, I mean, 2.73 million on a weekly, that's pretty ridiculous. And they're very under the water right now. I'm kind of curious, what's the story behind that? You know what I mean? That makes me kind of raise my eyebrows a little bit. So we'll see how that plays out maybe moving into tomorrow. But the one thing I also see is this, right? So if we go on the weekly chart, on the linear chart, this is the linear chart, right? Obviously, last week, the weekly chart or candle came down to pretty much almost perfectly retest this breakout, right? And, there's a chance that we come down, in my opinion, to about the mid-ish 240s, potentially as early as tomorrow, honestly. But ultimately, worst case scenario is we come back down to about this 230-ish level, and we pretty much retest that trend line once again on the linear chart. However, if I go to the log chart, bit of a different picture. The log chart actually now shows the weekly candle with a much more, convincing breakout. Now, obviously, there's a lot of time in the week still remaining, right? This obviously can change. This could just be a massive false breakout candle naturally, but there is a chance on the linear or the logarithmic chart that, if we do come down to retest the logarithmic trend line, which is going to be actually pretty much right at that gap fill that potentially may fill tomorrow at about 248, that could be the retest on the log chart as well. And if that holds, that could be pretty bullish. That could be pretty darn good. So there's a lot of things to see this week. This is a pretty massive week in my opinion. Really need to see how this structure develops. Again, I'm nibbling for now. I'm not going too crazy. I need to see how this develops. There's a lot of ifs right now this week. So, in my opinion, patience is definitely, important in my opinion, or good risk management, or both. So that's just kind of how I see it moving forward. But all in all, that's the main thing I'm noticing right now. So again, let me know what you think down below. A lot of options being sold as well. Nothing really stood out to me too crazy over here. Nothing that made me really go like, oh wow. A 1 million, I guess, call sell here, but it's 420 for 2026, right? So it's well far out. I think that's perfectly fine. Actually, I actually missed this entirely, but this is pretty decent. December 20th, 2024. 190 strike sell. I actually completely missed this. I guess it was kind of flooded in between everything else, but this is pretty interesting. 8.1 million, 4.4 million, 3.6 million. That's about like 16, 17 or something like that million in sold calls that came in when Tesla was at 262, pretty much the high of the day or very damn close to it. And these whales sold their position, not sold their position, they sold calls against their shares, I assume at least, right? For December 20th at a 190 strike. That means that it doesn't mean it has to go to 190, but they pretty much, it seems like, expect Tesla to probably trend downwards throughout the rest of the year. So we'll see if that's the case. There's a lot of big ifs right now moving into this week. Feels like a very crucial week to really determine structure. I'll be watching it very closely before I make any significant moves personally. But if there is a bullish scenario to play out, it's again, either we are essentially in a massive bull flag now, we just start consolidating, getting tighter, and then it's a bull flag. Maybe earnings will break us out and we move up even higher. That is a possibility. And or it's just a retest of this trend line on the logarithmic chart, which pretty much is around, high 240s, we'll say, and that could just be all she wrote, and then we bounce off from there. That is a possibility. But all in all, that's kind of what I'm seeing right now. Ladies and gentlemen, let me know what you think down below. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you for the next one. Peace.